Welcome to All Villa, No Filler. Remember to subscribe to the show. Former Aston Villa midfielder Douglas Luiz has endured a difficult season at Juventus and has been linked with a quick return to the Premier League, with Villa being one club mentioned. Unai Emery's side have also been linked with Inter defender Yann Bisseck. To find out more, I'm joined today by Lorenzo Bettoni. He's editor of Football Italia, a website for English-speaking fans of Italian football. Lorenzo, welcome back to the show. Always enjoy chatting to you. So what's the latest on Douglas Luiz?
Hello, Francis. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure for me to join this great show. Well, on Douglas Luiz, it's clear. I mean, if you just check the stats, you can see very easily that the season that he's had at Juventus is very, very far from the standards that Aston Villa were accustomed to. And it was a surprise for Juventus. It was a surprise for the player. And clearly, Juventus are waiting for offers for Douglas Luiz because clearly this transfer didn't work out. Juventus, in the meantime, have changed the management because Cristiano Giuntoli, who was the sporting director in charge of the team last season, and the person who practically signed Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa in 2024, is no longer in charge. He's been sacked and replaced by Damian Comolli, who is the general manager. He's expected to appoint a sporting director as well as a technical director. The technical director, the name is already known, and is Francois Modesto, but Juventus will have to appoint a sporting director as well. Until the sporting director is actually appointed, Damian Comolli will be in charge of the transfers. So he's the man to talk to right now at Juventus for Douglas Luiz. It was a tricky season for Juventus. It was Douglas Luiz's first season in Serie A, and nothing worked out really on and off the pitch. And didn't have a goal or an assist. They had a lot of injuries. They had off the field issues. And again, Juventus are very much likely to listen to offers. And if it's Aston Villa, if one is coming from Aston Villa, then they'll be glad to send him back to his former club too.
It's such a surprise it went so badly for him, just given how good he was at his best when he was at Villa. And as you say, Juventus, there was a lot of difficulty. Thiago Motta's reign didn't really work out, and off the pitch issues and all that. So, is there any way forward at all for him at Juve, or is he almost certainly going to be moving this summer?
I think he's going to be moving. Juventus, they got a new coach now, Igor Tudor, who's an ex-Juventus player as well, and he uses a 3-4-2-1 formation mostly. Douglas Luiz hasn't featured for Juventus, didn't play at the Club World Cup despite being fit. He spent a few weeks under Tudor at the end of the season, at the end of the regular season, let's call it this way, on the sidelines because of an injury, because of the latest of the many injuries that he's had in Turin, but doesn't seem there is space for him because Juventus already have quite a lot of central midfielders, and they want to add some more quality in central midfield as well. So unless they resume the season on July 24, the pre-season, slightly later than the other clubs in Italy, of course, because they participated in the Club World Cup. But unless something big happens in these weeks of non-training, of holidays of the players, I do think that there's no way for Douglas Luiz to get back in these. And I think the most likely option is Juventus. Listen to offers and try to sell him for the best bid.
And I guess within what you're hearing in Italy, which clubs seem to be most interested in him, and are Villa indeed one of those who are interested in bringing him back?
There have been many reports, but at this stage, there doesn't seem to be any formal negotiation, or at least every negotiation at an advanced stage for many clubs. Of course, before moving to Juventus, Douglas Luiz had 10 goals and 10 assists with Aston Villa and contributed to bring it into the Champions League. So, of course, he's regarded very highly by Premier League clubs because they remember what he was able to do. It feels like 10 years ago, but it was just a year ago. So he hasn't lost his, talent. So there have been rumors about Leeds United. There have been rumors about Manchester United as well. But at this stage, I think it's mostly speculation. It's mostly about his agents talking to Premier League clubs who, again, remember what this player did at Aston Villa just a year ago, and Aston Villa are in the frame, of course, but there's still no advanced negotiation with any club. I think every team has to understand pretty well their strategies in the summer transfer window, and then go to Juventus, sit down with them, and they will find a club that, again, is very much willing to listen to what other clubs have to say.
Okay, well, if we move on to another top team in Italy, Inter, another dramatic season for them as well. Came so close to having one of the greatest seasons ever, and then it sort of didn't end up that way. But one player, a fair few people have moved on already. Inzaghi, the former coach, but Yann Bisseck, their defender, is a player as well who's been linked with a move away, and Aston Villa are one of the prime clubs in contention there, apparently. What type of a player is Bisseck?
Well, he's developed a lot at Inter. He's had 2 seasons. To be honest, he's never been a regular starter because Inter, they have a very settled defense. A World Cup winner like Benjamin Pavard, Italy international Alessandro Bastoni, who is arguably the best Italian defender, and then Francesco Acerbi at centre back. So it's not easy to get regular playing time when you have these players in the team. But at the same time, he still managed to get decent playing time in Serie A and in the Champions League. And as I said, he's developed a lot. Now Inter play with a 3-man defense that are expected to continue playing with a 3-man defense. And Bisseck was, and he's the defender playing on the right side of the 3-man defense at the back. So if you look at his heat map, for example, you will see a player who plays in central defense, but is very keen to move forward as well, and try to create numerical advantage in the final third of the pitch. I think this is a feature that comes especially with this system. So I don't see Bisseck, even if the heat map suggests that he's a player who likes to push forward. I don't see him playing as a fullback or as a right back in a 4-man defense. I think this feature came especially because the wide defenders in Inzaghi's system are accustomed to go ahead and try. Bastoni does the same thing on the opposite flank. So I think it's very tied to this kind of system. But perhaps he can become a player who can either play as a centre back or as a right back. I think he has the physicality and the speed to become a very good centre back. And so I think Aston Villa are pursuing him because of his ability to play as a central defender. But you got a very smart coach, so who knows whether he can turn it into a right back as well if Aston Villa need. His experience at Inter, again, has been pretty positive. There is one bad reason he's remembered by Inter fan, which is the penultimate game of the Serie A season. Napoli were drawing 0-0 at Parma, and Inter were leading 2-1 at home against Lazio, which at that point, with two minutes remaining to the end of the game, meant Inter would overtake Napoli with 1 match remaining in the league. It was pretty unfortunate because he hit the ball with his arm, leading to a handball after a VAR check. So, especially because of the dramatic season that Inter had, as you mentioned, Inter fans somehow link his season to that incident, which again was pretty unfortunate. But generally, he's a very young player. He's a very talented defender as well, and he has the physicality, the right physicality, I think, to play an important role in any league, and especially in the Premier League as well. So I think it would be a very smart move. Remains to be seen whether Inter want to sell him or not.
Okay, it's very interesting what you're saying about him being at centre back and right back as well, because Unai Emery does seem to like using centre backs at right back. Ezri Konsa, Axel Disasi did it. So if Yann Bisseck were to come into Aston Villa, I could see that being something that Emery toys with at times. And he's so young. Obviously, he's got a lot of learning. He could probably learn as he goes. What sort of a price do you think he would fetch for Inter? What would they look for?
I think Inter really for somewhere around 30 million. That would be the transfer fee. Bisseck is a player. Really, I mean, he comes to making these sort of signings because he joined a couple of years ago for, I remember it was just around 8 million, 7 pretty much transfer fee. And now they're looking to somewhere around 30 million. There are reports that Inter want to sign another centre back as well. In this case, is Giovanni Leoni, who has a so perhaps that could fit send back Bisseck out of the club for a good transfer fee and try to get Giovanni Leoni, who is 18, for the same transfer fee. It depends. It doesn't seem that a decision on Bisseck has been made already. He's not genuinely on the market. He's not somebody who they openly offered to. But I believe that if Aston Villa or any other club an offer for Bisseck, Inter would be ready to sit down and discuss. It's not untouchable. He's one of those players that with the right offer he can leave, but I'm not sure Inter have decided that he has to go on the market 100%. It depends on the offer, I think.
Okay, sure. So that's interesting to know about. Certainly one to keep an eye on as well. And so that's those two players covered. And just something I wanted to quickly ask you as well, so just thinking about it, because I haven't spoken to you for a little while. Obviously, Juventus have lost Francesco Calvo to Aston Villa. Did that surprise you at all to see that happen? From going from Juventus, always up there at the top of Serie A to Aston Villa.
I mean, not necessarily, because Calvo is somebody who worked abroad already, and he was looking for a new sort of experience in personal life and in terms of career. And Aston Villa offers him the chance to work in the best environment for players, for coaches, for football directors as well. He played a very important role at Juventus behind the scenes. Juventus from this season. Last season, they didn't have a shirt sponsor. He negotiated deals with several partners for several months. And in the end, Juventus announced the deal for the new sponsor shirt just a few days after that Calvo basically was, let's say, announced as a new Aston Villa director. He's going to have a very important role at the club over there. So it's surprising, but not entirely, because, of course, the Premier League offer a very good chance to everyone involved in football, and Aston Villa, they've proved to be a very good club in recent seasons. I personally came to cover. It was the first time I went to the Villa Park in November for Aston Villa Juventus. I was impressed by the atmosphere. It's the pretty much song. Hey ho! It's still one of the still one of my favorite. My wife, when we go on a long trip by car, I always put that.
That's brilliant to hear.
It's a very nice environment, and it's Aston Villa, it's the Premier League, so it's surprising, but not that much, because it's the best environment you can do football nowadays.
And do you know how he's sort of generally thought of at Juventus? Is he got? I mean, people don't tend to have like big opinions on sporting directors and all that usually, but I don't know. Does he have any kind of reputation from it, or?
Yeah, I mean, probably. Who knows, if Juventus had offered him a sort of different role, like general manager, like the one they offered to Damian Comolli, perhaps he would have had a different decision. He would have taken a different on a different path. But it was never the case, really. I mean, I think he was quite attracted from the opportunity to work for Aston Villa and to work in the Premier League. He worked for Barcelona as well, so he's accustomed to top clubs, and he's having a very important role as the Aston Villa CEO. So it's the work that he did. He had two separate spells at Juventus. First in the golden era, and then he returned to fix a few things that needed to be fixed for Juventus after the Agnelli era. And yeah, this is the work that he's done has always been very much valued at Juventus, but this was an opportunity that he couldn't turn down, especially because he hadn't had any other offer from Juventus. So he was very happy to take it.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Lorenzo. And I love that you visited Villa Park and you had such a good time there. Champions League experience was incredible, and it's brilliant being in Europe and meeting fans from clubs and parts of Europe that we don't usually get to meet at Villa. We haven't been in Europe for a long time, so that's brilliant to hear. And so thank you so much, Lorenzo. And if people want to read your work, where can they find it?
It's Football Italia, all of my articles, and then Lore Betton on all social media, Instagram, YouTube, and X.